Here's part 7 of Woom. So Angel began the next story with Shiloh. So there was this man. He was suicidal, depressed all the time, lost his way in life. Things were going for him quite well for quite some time, but now he's just completely lost his way. He thought about finishing it all and not existing anymore until he wandered into a local cafe, and there's a bulletin board on the back wall covered in different posters and signs and business things, until he saw this sketchy looking handwritten little note card, the bottom corner of this bulletin board, that says, "Do you want to change your life? Mail a cover letter to this P.O. box." The man thought it was weird, and he's like, "That's bizarre, but I don't really care what happens to me right now. It's worth a shot." So he mailed a letter describing on, what he's looking for, why he's mailing them, kind of like a resume and business invite of, "This is what I'm looking for. Help." And after the man sent off this letter, he totally forgot about it until he received a reply about a month later. It said to meet at this address at 8 p.m. on this specific date. The address took him to an abandoned factory at night, and it was super sketchy. The man was starting to regret his decision. He's just like, "I'm gonna get mortared. I'm gonna get moited. This could be it. This is probably the craziest thing I've ever done." But sure enough, as he waited at this abandoned factory at 8 p.m. on a random weekday, a white van squealed up in front of him. This really nerdy looking Asian woman was driving. She rolled down the window and said, "Enter blank name here. You're the guy. Come on in." The side door of the van flung open, and it was this kind of bohemian hippie dude, long flowy hair with these really round glasses. Looked at him and he's like, "You're the guy. Come on in." Our main character was like, "All right." Hopped into the van. The door shut. The lady sped off in the van, and they weaved in back streets and onto the highway and kind of all around the city. The man in the back sat with our little hippie nerdy guy, and he's bombarding him with life questions. "So, why are you here?" I mean, I should be asking you the same thing. Who are you people? What is this about? Oh, we'll get into that in a little bit, but first, tell us about yourself. I mean, you're here for a reason. You want to change your life. You want to feel a sense of belonging. Then the van pulled up to a local Dunkin' Donuts where 3 more people stood. The door swung open. They climbed in. There were 2 other kind of hippie-ish girls. They smelled like patchouli, and this kind of like gangster-looking grown man with kind of a darker skin complexion, and he had an attitude, but too cool for school, but he was kind of happy to be there. They all knew each other except for the man who invited himself along this little journey. They all bombarded him with questions like, "What are you doing here, my guy? What's your deal, man?" "Well, I mean, I've kind of lost my way in life. I just don't give a shit anymore. I don't want to live anymore. I've lost my way. I mean, I grew up in the foster care system, and I got in a lot of fights growing up. That's all I could do to express my emotions was fight. And currently I just lost everything. I have nothing. And it's either I end it now or I find a way to cope. Wow. That's really tough, my man. Well, glad you let us know that you wanted to change your life. The man was still super weirded out. No, they didn't give him an inkling of why they were doing what they're doing or what they will be doing. He thought it was like a sketchy cult, or like they were going to harvest his organs on the black market, or just no idea. Clearly they all knew each other and this was like a thing. He listened to the 2 hippie-ish girls in the back kind of argue with the guys in the back seat about how just like life stuff. And clearly they knew each other and they all had a history and they've done this before. And finally, as they weave themselves through the back streets, they stop really far off into the distance from the local airport. Like they weren't at a terminal, they were really, really far away at the, where people park their cars for long extended time. They're parked way in the back in one of those. There's nobody around. The parking spaces were empty. They all hopped out of the van and they beckoned the guy to come with them. They just stood outside of the van. All right, you wanted to change your life. Glad you could make it. So here's what we're going to do. They pull out this giant rolled rug. Now, we're going to roll you up inside this rug, and you have to fight your way out. What? I wanted to change my life, not be suffocated. What? All right, you better prepare yourself. 3, 2, 1, go. There was no time of thinking. All the people pounced on the man, unrolled the rug, and tightly rolled him up in it, threw the roll of himself inside the rug, back into the van. They all hopped in, they closed the doors, and they sat on him. My claustrophobia was so violent listening to this whole scene because it was so suffocating. Having 4 people sit their body weight on you as you're rolled tightly in this rug. Ugh.